is Savardis. He's on the move, and they're going to look for Savardis in the corner. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Okay, moving in. Sends one on goal, and he scores!
And it is a power play goal.
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in. Here's Yoxon. Yoxon with the backhand. Trying to go to the front. Makes the move and shot. And he scores!
Smith delivers. And that's it back toward the mound. Weiss has it in short. He steps on second. And the ball game is over. Massapequa Coast has won the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship.
Live from Joseph F. Facina Field in New Rochelle, New York, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of the Elite Football Alliance. In the second game of our Week 1 doubleheader, the Hudson Valley Mountaineers take on the New Jersey Gravediggers. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, once again joined by my broadcast partner, Nicholas Bavona. And Nick, in Game 1, it was a convincing victory for the New York Dolphins in their EFA debut. They put up 32 points, and defensively, they shut out the New York Legion by a final score of 32-0.
Yeah, really dominating performance from the Dolphins in their first game of EFA action taking on the Legion. And you mentioned it, they dominated on both sides of the football. Really good rushing attack for them. Got some big plays down the field offensively in terms of passing. And their defense was just stifling all over the Legion offense. They really had no chances to make in the play. They had not much time in the pocket in terms of trying to throw any footballs and as well as trying to get any rushing attacks. And it was just really big win for the Dolphins to start off their EFA career. And now, starting off their EFA careers now, two new teams as well, the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers, getting their first action as well here in the second game of this doubleheader, here at least on this field.
Well, as you said, Nick, here in Game 2, we get a chance to see the debut of two teams new to the EFA as the Mountaineers face the Gravediggers. So obviously, we don't know much about either of these two teams, but we have learned plenty from watching the EFA brand of football during the past two seasons. What are some of your expectations for this matchup between the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers?
I think you said it best in Game 1, where expect the unexpected, honestly. I think there's not much really that you know about these two teams, so I think looking forward to seeing what they both can bring to the table is going to be something to look forward to going into this game. Maybe a couple of trick plays on one side, maybe on both sides of the ball. Who knows how they go about during their offensive scheming. But I definitely think expecting the unexpected certainly applies into this game that we're going to have here tonight and try to figure out which one of these two teams will come out on top with a 1-0 start as well as the Dolphins had just earlier today.
And Nick, it's really hard to believe that it has been 2 years since we last covered a true opening weekend doubleheader for the EFAs. The doubleheader scheduled for Week 1 of last season ultimately became a single game between the Demon Knights and the Bears. In terms of scheduling for this year, the Demon Knights and the Bandits will have this weekend off, but each of these two teams will have next week off. Of course, you're hoping to head into Week 2 coming off a win, but it sure seems like a great opportunity to analyze what worked and what didn't work in your first live game action ahead of a return to competition in Week 3.
Yeah, I think for these two teams, obviously, getting that week off is always helpful because you get to study your game film more about what went on during this game, as well as figure out what the teams that you're going to be playing next week have to bring to the table in terms of what they bring both offensively and defensively. So I would say for these two teams, find out what you did right in the early stages of this game as well as the rest of it, and then obviously try to fix the mistakes that you have later on. Obviously, with the Legion, when we saw what happened with them in Game 1, they're going to want to do the exact same thing and try to fix the mistakes that they had on both sides of the football, so they'll have that week to prepare for next week. But for these two teams, they'll have now 2 weeks off to try to figure that out as they will have a 1-0. One of them at least will have a 1-0 mark, and they'll have some time to think about who they have to scout in terms of what they need to do offensively and defensively to get potentially a 2-0 start.
Well, speaking of Week 2, our currently scheduled game will see us cover the New York Dolphins once again as they host the Empire State Demon Knights. If you're Empire State heading into that game, what are some of your takeaways from the game that we just saw the Dolphins play against the Legion?
Yeah, I think for Empire State, you saw what the Dolphins brought to the table in terms of what they did offensively. I'll start with that side of the ball. We saw a great rushing attack that not only from the quarterback side, but from the running back game as well. A lot of read options were used to fake the defenders at the play of field. And then there were some well-thrown balls that got the Dolphins down the field to set them up for some other touchdown possessions. So on that side of the ball for the Demon Knights, they have to be worried about trying to contain their quarterback for the Dolphins moving out in the pocket and try to make a play with his legs. Now, the defensive side of the ball, we saw a lot in that game with the Legion. They have to avoid the pressure from that defensive line of the Dolphins getting to the quarterback. A lot of times in that game for the Legion, they had maybe 1 second, maybe 2 at best, and they were only able to make one read in that game to get a throw-off. And a lot of times when they were trying to run the football, they just didn't have any breathing room to get get a couple yards. So for the Demon Knights, they have to look out for quarterback contain for their defense, and then for their offense, they have to be very careful at containing that defensive line of the Dolphins.
And as for the Bandits, they will face the Legion in Week 2. What do you think the Bandits could have learned from getting an early look at this 2024 Legion squad?
Well, we know what they brought to the table last season in terms of that matchup we covered here on this field last season, a thrilling matchup between those two teams. And I think for the Bandits, when you look at how that first game went for the Legion, obviously the Legion would like a lot of things to have gone better in that one on both sides of the football. But for the Bandits, I think you're just going to want to try to expose those mistakes that the Legion had in this first game and make sure that you can come out on top with the victory and then send the Legion to an 0-2 mark, which would be very tough for the Legion if they want to make the playoffs this season. To start 0-2 would really put them in a bad spot as the season goes along. So the Bandits will have that opportunity, and with them having this bye week this week as well, they'll get to be able to study what the Legion brought in that first game of the day today. So kind of an advantage for the Bandits going into next week's matchup with the Legion.
And with that, we will step aside for a quick break as we complete our look ahead to Week 2 in the Elite Football Alliance. When we come back, we shift our attention back to game number 2 on this afternoon between the Mountaineers and the Gravediggerz. More to come here on the PDF Sports Network after a 60-second break, as it looks like we are drawing closer to kickoff. And we're back here from Joseph F. Facina Field, as it looks like we are going to have kickoff in this game a bit earlier than we expected. A 4:35 kickoff time for our second game in this Elite Football Alliance opening weekend doubleheader. Wearing black jerseys in this one, the Hudson Valley Mountaineers kicking off to the New Jersey Gravediggerz in their white uniforms. Now, the white on white. The white on white makes it a bit tough to see the numbers on the back of some of these Gravedigger uniforms, but other players have red numbers on the back of their white jerseys. So we'll contend with that as the evening progresses. But it will be the Gravediggerz possessing it first. Mountaineers will send their defense out with this drive beginning just shy of the 45-yard line. And an early timeout has been called by the Gravediggerz. So, as I mentioned, some players wearing the white-on-white uniforms without numbers on the back. Other players have numbers on the back of their jersey. Getting a look at these two teams in terms of numbers, it looks like the Mountaineers have somewhere between, I would say, 20 and 25 on their sideline, On the side of the Gravediggers, it looks like they have somewhere between, I'd say, maybe 17 and 25, somewhere in that range. So in terms of numbers, not as robust as the Dolphins, but not as depleted as the Legion were entering their game earlier today. And a ton of credit to the Legion. They obviously were put in a really tough spot from the get-go, and they kept it relatively close for much of the game. They trailed by 14 for a large portion of the game. The Dolphins came out in the second half, went ahead by 3 scores, but the Legion did not quit. Forced a turnover, made a big goal line stand. Ultimately, the Dolphins just too much.
Yeah, the Dolphins just really played. As I mentioned, it was just a tough deficit to come back for the Legion in that game. And now they start the year 0-1, look to bounce back next week. But let's see what the Gravediggers do now after they call that early timeout.
First play of the game is a quarterback draw. We do not have a 0 on our roster as the ball was lost after the tackle was made. So down by contact is the ruling on that play. And on the quarterback keeper, it's a gain of 8 to get things started for the Gravediggers.
Yeah, almost disaster right there for the Gravediggers, as it looked like maybe that was going to be a fumble on the play, but the ball carrier was ruled down and make it 2nd and 2.
A long run on first down sets up 2nd and short, and that's a recipe for success. We saw the Dolphins utilize that in our first game. It was a big effort for them on the ground, and when they needed it, they were able to make big plays through the air as well.
Yeah, it's always good when you can set up your rushing attack, and then it sets up that, being able to throw the football down the field because they're expecting run.
Second snap of the game, we'll see the Gravediggers throw. That is complete short left. And on the reception, Tyron Brown is taken down just shy of the 40-yard line of Hudson Valley. So very quickly, Nick, the Gravediggers in plus territory after just 2 plays.
Yeah, and think about also where they started this game possession-wise on the field. We talked about how big of a factor special teams plays into these games. The Gravediggers got a good possession to start off around just over the 40-yard line, and now they're on the plus side of territory trying to get the first score of this game.
Motion man is Brown.
And I think they called it, and they did. They called their second timeout already.
So the Gravediggers have already used 2 timeouts in this game.
We saw that happen to the Legion as well in the first game.
And that puts you in a tough spot for the remainder of the first half. The Legion didn't necessarily need those timeouts late in the half, but I think early in a season, you see this a bit more where teams are forced to call timeout and recollect themselves ahead of offensive plays. And obviously for these 2 teams, it's their first game action of the EFA season.
Yeah, and it was different for the Legion side of things as well because they had to call a timeout due to also some equipment malfunction, so that was a reason why they had to use one of their 2 timeouts they called early in the first quarter. But for this side of the field, the Gravediggers have had to call their 2 timeouts due to miscommunication when in terms of play calling. So they'll come back out here, still 1st and 10, and they're at the Mountaineers' 41-yard line.
Right now, the officials involved in a discussion with the Gravediggers trying to figure out who it is playing quarterback without a 0 on our roster. The 2 listed quarterbacks on the Gravediggers official roster on Hosted Sports are Lamar Johnson and Walik Huffin. So they have 2 quarterbacks on their roster. They do have a kicker on their roster as well. And
Don't see that often.
That player is here. Jaquise Hunter wears number 33. Or check that. I can't see on the Gravediggers sideline. I'm looking at the Mountaineers sideline. That would not be Jaquise Hunter. So we can't tell yet if the Gravediggers have their kicker present, but if they do, that's something that they may have in their back pocket late in the game from in close. And I think that's really the only time where having the kicker would result in a field goal attempt very late in a tie game. First down and 10. The ball spotted at the Mountaineers' 41-yard line. And we are still awaiting this first down snap following the Gravediggers' timeout. Two receivers split out to the left. Brown motions into the backfield, pistol look, and they will fake a potential pitch as the quarterback looks to run. Spinning away from one hit and breaking up the field for what will be a touchdown is Zero of the Gravediggers. Once again, he is unfortunately not on our roster, but what looked to be a play that was going nowhere instead turns into a big 41-yard touchdown run.
And sometimes, Joe, the plays that work the most are broken plays, and you saw it right there. It looked like it was going to be a read option type play with the running back, and maybe a little bit of a miscommunication, who knows, but it worked out in the Gravediggers' favor. That broken play turns into 6. It puts them on the scoreboard, 6-0 early in the first quarter. A nice start to their season.
Now I'm trying to get a look at the back of the quarterback's uniform to get a read on the name. There is text there. But
a nice little celebration at the end as well for the Gravediggers.
Outside of that, there's no way to tell who it is at quarterback. Maybe Pat can get us a close look later. They will go for 2. They will throw for it, and they will convert. Xavier Harris makes the reception on the 2-point try, and we have a first drive touchdown as the Gravediggers go straight down the field, helped along by a big 41-yard touchdown run on the option.
And think about as well, we saw with the Dolphins. They started their season off as well with a first possession touchdown to start the game. And right there and then, we see the Gravediggers do the same. And despite them calling the 2 timeouts on the drive, Joe, a very successful drive for them overall. They were able to work in some big runs and nothing bigger than that one to get them on the board first. And now for the Mountaineers, they'll have to bounce back and try to get some points on their first possession of the season.
So the Gravediggers do have a 00 on their roster, not a 0. Jaquan McCants, listed as a linebacker, wears 00. I don't believe that was him at quarterback, but unfortunately, without any additional information, we can't tell you who it is that scored that touchdown. However, that drive looked pretty good, Nick, and we saw some nice variety in the play calling as well. So the Mountaineers now will play from behind, 8-0, here in the opening quarter. Gravediggers right now looking over to their sideline for the appropriate personnel on the kickoff.
Also looking for the kicking tee as well.
Tough to kick it off without the tee, unless you have some help from a member of the kick coverage team. Lining up to send it away is Tyron Brown, wearing number 24. And Brown sends it deep. That will reach the 2 men lined up in the back. That ball scooped up and taken down very quickly was a number 11 who was not on the hosted roster for the Mountaineers. So the kickoff sees the Mountaineers return it for about 5 yards from the 25 to about the 30, and that will bring up their first possession of the game.
And if you saw, that took a weird bounce on that kickoff return. Number 11 was waiting to bounce it for it to bounce towards him, and it did not do that. It went towards the defensive team, the kicking unit, trying to get towards the ball. So that's kind of one of those where you just get as many yards as you possibly can, and they were able to get maybe 3 to 5 yards on that one. But they'll start this drive, as you mentioned, from their own 30-yard line as they try to get their first points of the season on this drive.
So we're being told by the live chat that it is Lamar Johnson at quarterback.
Okay.
He's wearing 0 today, listed on the roster as 1. As we mentioned before, the 2 quarterbacks were Lee Cuffin and Lamar Johnson on the Gravediggers roster. So we'll proceed from here with the information that Lamar Johnson is indeed the quarterback for the Gravediggers. Meanwhile, the Mountaineers take over. They trail by 8. And currently under center for them is Stephen Glodden Jr. He will hand off out of the I formation. And the Gravediggers rally to make the tackle at the line of scrimmage. On the carry,
We got an injury as well, Joe.
Jesse Pascal. And we very early in this game have an injury on the side of the Mountaineers. Eric Gosler, offensive lineman, is down. Also listed on the roster as a defensive lineman, and he appears to be in quite a bit of pain. We've spoken about it many times before over the course of the last couple of seasons covering the EFA, but the teams that are able to maintain dominance at the line of scrimmage are often the most successful teams. To have a big injury on the offensive line on your first offensive snap really hurts, as now there is a second player down.
This one for the Gravediggerz.
That came seemingly out of nowhere, as I didn't see that a second player was down, and it looks like they're signaling
water
for some water from the sideline. Yeah, on a day like this, have to stay hydrated.
We had a bit of a breeze earlier on in the first game, but it feels like the breeze has kind of gone away here as the day goes on. So it is still definitely hot out there.
Well, earlier in the day, during the end of the first game, the sky was darkening and the wind was picking up. It did not look good immediately outside of our perch up here in the press box, but the weather now much better. Blue skies, partly cloudy. Still a mild breeze, but not quite like what we had in Game 1. So being helped off the field is Gosler of the Mountaineers. He gets injured on the game's first snap, or first offensive snap anyway, for the offensive unit of the Mountaineers.
Couldn't really see which player was down for the Gravediggerz on that one. But he will be walking off the sideline trying to hydrate and get himself back into the game.
Well, not every player has a clearly legible number on the uniform. I think I got a look and saw that some players did have a number handwritten on the back, but other players just have a uniform with no number. Looks like we are ready to resume action here. And once again, the Mountaineers will come out in the pistol. It's a strong pistol set. And they will hand it off for a second straight play, and they won't gain much. Maybe a half a yard as Chris Tyler gets his first carry.
Yeah, and so far you're seeing the Gravediggerz defensive line getting early on to that Mountaineer offensive line. They've forced a lot of good pressure on these back-to-back rush attempts, and no gain. And now it gets to 3rd and 10.
Well, 3rd and long, the situation that you're always hoping to avoid as an offense. I think objective number 1 on the first 2 downs is no negative plays. And you're certainly hoping for positive plays, but at the very least, no negative plays, and that gives you a chance to potentially go for it on a 4th down if you pick up a few yards here on 3rd. But nothing gained on either of the first 2 offensive snaps for the Mountaineers. It's now 3rd and 10. Once again, they're in the pistol, and once again, they hand off. This time, there is a hole, and Tyler picks up about 4. And you have to think, Nick, if they're running there, they're probably going for it.
Yeah, you would tend to get that notion that they most likely will go for it on this 4th down, but this is a tough spot because if you don't get it right here, the Gravediggerz will have very good field position, and after they just had a very lengthy drive to start off this game, they'd be very happy if they can get this short field to try to go up 2 possessions.
So Tyler, who just carried the ball, was headed for the sideline. He's off the field. Into the game is number 5, Tramel Williams. That's a name we're familiar with. Looking at the personnel right now, they have 4 players in the area of the offensive backfield. 2 of those players move out wide. Spread shotgun set, 4th and 6. And there was a lot of contact in the slot. The ball may have been uncatchable, but 2 players came together. Number 11 of the Mountaineers not on our roster, and he was taken out completely by a Gravediggerz defender in a blank uniform. I can't say I've ever uttered that line on commentary before.
Expect the unexpected, like we
That's right. Always
mentioned
expect
already.
the unexpected. It's part of the charm of covering games like this. You just never know.
Yeah, you just saw on the replay right there, that last play on 4th down. Could have maybe had a case to call that play, call the pass interference, but it's tough. I think the notion was that it was probably an uncatchable ball, so that's why they didn't throw the flag.
It looked like the contact came before the ball was ever thrown.
Right.
You think if the ball lands right at the receiver's feet, they throw a flag?
I would think so because it was a little bit closer, but it's tough to call. It looks like another timeout was taken on the field. Is that by the Mountaineers?
That's a good question. I didn't see a signal from the official. It looked like they pointed toward the Mountaineers, not the official, the Gravediggerz. Yeah, I think they had an incorrect number of players on the field. I'm not sure if it was too many or too few, but I don't believe it was 11, and it was 10.
Okay.
So the Mountaineers take a timeout without enough men on the field, and they'll look to regroup here. Great starting field position for the Gravediggerz, who now have a chance to go up by 2 scores early in this game. They scored quickly and then forced a 4 and out. You can't ask for a much better start than that.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in our pregame of the first game where the Dolphins, where I said that if you could set the tone, it gives you an idea of how your season can go as you go on throughout the year. And for the Gravediggerz, they've done a good job of it so far in this one. You got an opening drive touchdown. You force a quick 4 and out after getting that last stop. And now you come out here for your second drive already in plus territory at the 34-yard line, trying to go up 2 possessions in this game. So this is a tough task for the Mountaineers defense, already being backed up into their own territory, trying to avoid that from being a 2-possession game.
Tough test here for the Hudson Valley defense. And the Gravediggerz with a big opportunity to put themselves in a great position early. Once again, Lamar Johnson at quarterback. He is wearing 0 today. Conversation ongoing between Johnson and a couple of his receivers. Now the officials with a back and forth.
I think they're also waiting for the chain gang to move.
Tales of the Chain Gang could be its own segment here on our broadcasts. Looks like they're ready to go. Or perhaps not quite. The Gravediggerz were a player short.
Now that the play clock whistle's officially been blown, and now we'll be ready to call this first down play.
I sure hope so. They were 1 lineman short, though it looks like they may have 6 offensive linemen in there, Nick. I think they do.
Yeah, it's a heavy bunch set.
Very heavy.
Yeah. And in motion, that being Brown.
And keeping it is Johnson. He takes off up the middle. He has blocking. And after a pair of broken tackles, he is finally brought down 1 yard short of the first down marker.
Yeah, he's been very tough to tackle early in this game, Joe. And that's going to be a problem for the Mountaineers, maybe for the rest of this league. Right now, early on, Johnson has been a problem for these opposing defenders.
Well, that option has been a tough cover for the Mountaineers. Second down and 1. Once again, Brown motioned into the backfield. Johnson hands it off to him, and he is wrapped up immediately behind the line of scrimmage. That was Jeffrey Ware.
Yeah, nice play from Ware right there. Looks like he maybe lost about 1 yard or 2 on the play. And if the Mountaineers defense can step up here, Joe, and force a 4 down on their side of the ball, that will give them some good momentum going into the rest of this game, trying to avoid this from being a 2-possession game.
Third down and 2. Certainly 4 down territory here for the Gravediggerz. And if the Mountaineers can come up with a stop, you have to think the momentum in this game swings back in their favor. Right now, an empty backfield outside of the quarterback, Johnson. Brown is lined up on the right side of the line of scrimmage if they choose to motion him. we'll see which way this call goes.
Multiple flags.
Encroachment against the defense, so a penalty affords the Gravediggers a first down.
That's one you cannot afford, especially when it's third and about 2 or 3 yards. Those are those undown penalties that you don't want to give up, and obviously the extra yards you don't want to give up in a game like this. So tough break for the Mountaineers right there. Now a fresh set of downs for the Gravediggers. It's 1st and 10.
Johnson throws left, and that skips into the arms of his receiver. The intended target on the play was Xavier Harris. Gravediggers thus far in this game have the one completion that came on the 2-point conversion. And the pass in the flat as well.
Joe, we got an update from the South Shore game after this next play.
Can't wait. Once again, Johnson will take off on the quarterback keeper. He makes a man miss, accelerates, and is in for his second rushing touchdown. As a flag flies, they may have gotten him for taunting at the end of that play.
Yeah, that was definitely taunting on him before he went into the end zone.
Man, is he a tough tackle in the open field.
Yep.
Perhaps just as tough in between the tackles.
Maybe it has something to do with the name being a quarterback and being first name Lamar.
Could be. Unsportsmanlike conduct against the offense. So you think that the Mountaineers will choose to enforce this on the 2-point try, perhaps on the kickoff. We'll see.
I would think on the kickoff.
If the Gravediggers had not converted on their first 2-point try, do you think about enforcing this on the 2 points, or you always want it on the kickoff?
I would say on the kickoff always.
I'd be inclined to agree with you, but
I think the
just
only
something
way
to think about.
I think the only way you really force it on a 2-point conversion is if it's a big spot in the game.
If it's a 2-point game.
Yeah, right. I don't think, and it's too early to tell how this game's going to go.
Johnson takes off again, lowers the shoulder, and is in for the 2-point try. Not sure.
He's flexing his muscles, Joe.
I'm not sure you want your quarterback lowering his head there, but that certainly fired up his team. And he has this game off to a tremendous start for the Gravediggers.
Yeah, he could not ask any much better for the Gravediggers in this spot, Joe. 2 possessions, 2 scores. Their defense has already been off to a nice start in this one. And now for the Mountaineers, they've got to step up in this spot and score, in my opinion. You're having a tough time on the defensive side of the ball tackling Johnson, and that's going to be something they're going to have to contend with the rest of the game. I mentioned it in our first broadcast with the Dolphins and the Legion. The Legion having to maybe use a quarterback spy or contain to try to avoid, the quarterback from going into motion and setting up plays, but that's not what the Mountaineers are going to have to do the rest of this game. Johnson has just been a problem in the open field, and they have not been able to make the first initial tackle, and that's something you also need to avoid. You mentioned it in the first game as well. You want to make your initial contact and make sure that you get the tackles necessarily. Otherwise, it's going to lead to some bad mishaps in the field. And unfortunately for the Mountaineers, that's what's been the case so far here in the first quarter.
Well, I said it during our first game. When you're really struggling defensively, you want to make sure the ball carrier is kept between the tackles. And I think for the most part, they've been able to keep Johnson between the tackles. That being said, they can't bring him down.
Right.
And if you make the first man miss in between the tackles, allowing yourself an opportunity to run into that second level, then it's really, really tough to make that play as a defender in the open field. And we've seen that already twice in this game as Johnson has broken 2 big runs for touchdowns. That kickoff, a short one, and it skips into the arms of Myers there, or Tyler, excuse me.
He got into a collision with one of his teammates off the bounce. But for the Mountaineers, they'll at least start this drive in the Gravediggers' territory. Looks to be at around the 42-yard line. They're going to mark that one down.
So that penalty that was called on the personal foul for taunting pays off in a big way if you're the Mountaineers. Their last drive started well inside of their own territory. This time, they start in plus territory as the ball will officially be spotted at the 42-yard line of the Gravediggerz.
So if I wasn't mistaken, Joe, I think the update we got was South Shore did win their game 6-3 was the final. So they are still alive in the Little League World Series.
Love to hear it as a native Staten Islander and as, of course, the network that covered that New York State Little League Baseball Championship.
They'll be playing Illinois tomorrow at 9 a.m., so a very early start for them. Another elimination game.
We covered that event last year as well. The representative from New York was Massapequa Coast Little League. This year, South Shore winning the state championship, and they are still very much alive in Williamsport.
Thank you to Balloon for giving us that update as well.
Always reliable.
It's we were trying to watch it at the end of our first game, but the connection here, unfortunately, was giving us a little bit of problems. So we weren't able to pick it up on ESPN Plus, but appreciate Balloon for giving us the live updates.
Here at Facina Field, it is an early deficit for the Mountaineers. Trailing now by 2 possessions. Our score 16-0. Two backs in the backfield out of the shotgun. They will hand off again. And that's a short gain of about 2 on first down. On the carry was number 27. That is Joshua Hines. A couple of familiar names in Pascal and Hines, as we covered the New York Patriots earlier this year. It's a big drive, as we can see early in this game. The Mountaineers like to run the football, and if they don't score here and fall behind further, it's going to be awfully tough to continue running the football.
Yeah, they're going to be in a spot where if they can't get some points on the board, they're going to be forced to throw the football because they're trying to get back into it and not waste a lot of clock.
Toss goes to Hines. He has a head of steam, but getting hands on him in the backfield was one of the Gravedigger defenders, and that forced him to stumble just enough as the rest of the Jersey defense rallies to make the tackle. I wish I could tell you who it was that helped make that play happen, but a lot of defenders out there for the Gravediggerz without numbers on their uniforms.
It'll give you a loss of 1 on that play, but a nice defensive play regardless right there for the Gravediggerz to force that loss of play and make it now 3rd and about 9.
Something else to note, Lamar Johnson, the quarterback, is in the game at safety. Didn't catch that until just now. And you'll see that quite a bit in the EFA, players on both sides of the ball. I don't think it would be necessary for the Mountaineers to do that. Maybe a couple of players.
We'll see that a lot in high school as well. We'll be covering that later on.
Looking forward to that. 12 days away from our first high school broadcast as Mountaineers will look to throw, and that ball was nearly intercepted. Chance for a big play there defensively. Once again, a defensive back without a uniform number.
Hey, he's doing push-ups, Joe. That is the right method. When you drop an interception, your coaches tell you got to do some quick push-ups before the next play happens.
Once again, it looked like the defensive back lost his footing on the turf, and that makes it tough. Another 4th down here for the Mountaineers. 4th down at about 8 or 9. And if they don't convert this game has the potential to take a turn in a very ugly direction for Hudson Valley. They'd be staring in the face of a potential 3-score deficit.
Very long haul for them right here.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Nick. You have to think a timeout's probably forthcoming, and there is one. So with that, we'll step aside for a quick 60-second break. When we come back, 4th down for the Mountaineers, trailing 16-0.
I Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we are back from Facina Field ahead of this fourth down snap for the Hudson Valley Mountaineers. They trail the New Jersey Gravediggers by a score of 16-0. Nick, early in this game, Lamar Johnson has really taken this one over. A pair of rushing touchdowns on big plays, and now the Mountaineers offense will look to stay out on the field, trailing by 2 scores.
Both teams have already taken 2 timeouts in this first quarter. Here goes the 4th and 9 play for the Mountaineers.
Pre-snap motion from the slot on the right side. And the Mountaineers will look to throw for it. Man is open. That pass is complete. And they have the first down.
Yep. That's the end of the first quarter.
They needed the 34, maybe the 33. I think they got about the 25.
They needed the 33-yard line, and they are marked down at around, it looks to be the 26. I think that's where they have it marked.
So Stephen Glauden Jr. completes the pass.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think they also signal, and that is the end of the first quarter.
I believe it was number 11 on the reception again. He is not on our roster. Now, they did signal an end to the quarter. The ball is going to be respotted, but neither team has left the field. So it looks like the action is set to resume quickly. But, Nick, that's a really big play for the Mountaineers to potentially get this offense jump-started. If they score here, they're right back in it.
Right. I mean, and think about it also. They get the ball to start the second half, too. We talked about how big that plays into a factor of making decisions as the game goes along. So for the Mountaineers, if they can get a touchdown on this drive, the biggest thing next for them is going to be, making sure Lamar Johnson does not go out and get, big yardage in the field of open play with his scrambling ability. So some big upcoming minutes coming up for the Mountaineers to start the second quarter.
So right now the sticks read 4th down. They get that sorted out. 1st down and 10. Ball officially spotted at the Gravediggers' 27-yard line.
And immediate flag. 12 men on the field, maybe?
Well,
Yep.
The official just counted, and they indeed had 12. Now, wouldn't it be embarrassing if he threw the flag and was wrong?
Got to make sure you do your math correctly when you're counting out there before you throw a flag. But they had 12, and that'll give the Mountaineers 5 extra yards.
You can never be too sure in a situation like that.
So now instead of 1st and 10, they'll have 1st and 5 from around the 22-yard line.
4 receivers spread, pistol formation, pre-snap motion, followed by a handoff, and Hines
still not down.
Is still going. I thought they blew it dead.
They did, but
yeah,
he was still going.
His forward progress was stopped as we have an injury on the field.
Yep. It's number 99.
Don't have a 99 on our roster, but we'll step aside for an injury timeout. When we come back, the Mountaineers have it. 2nd down and about 5 coming up. They trail 16-0.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
And we are back ahead of the second down snap. Officially a second down and 4. So the Mountaineers officially picked up 1 on the first down carry by Hines. Once again, they are in the shotgun. 2 receivers stacked to the right, and they will hand off to Hines again. He powers through the middle and looks to have enough for a first down.
And he does indeed. He's ruled down at looks to be the 16-yard line.
Over the course of 4 quarters, having a bruising back like Hines will certainly pay off for the Mountaineers if they are able to stay committed to the running game. I think right now that's largely dependent on whether or not they can keep this a 2-possession game or closer.
Yeah, and I think that one of their strengths right now is having this ball on this side of the territory. You're in the goal. You're now in the red zone, and you obviously want to run the football. That's the way they've been running so far. Obviously, that is their number one game plan of focus. So, with 1st and 10 now at the 16, we'll see what type of running play they do once again here.
Glodden Jr. in the offensive backfield, flanked by a pair of backs. And he will hand off again, making a move to the inside and up the field, I believe was Tramel Williams, as he was engulfed by a mass of white jerseys. And that was indeed Williams.
And I think also the beauty of having a good running game as well is it's able to set up the passing game for you as the game goes along. And we saw on that, earlier in this drive where it was 4th and 9, they were able to get that first down reception to keep the drive going after they ran 3 straight times. So that's something that the Mountaineers are trying to do, trying to establish the run early so maybe they can run some maybe play action, who knows, and try to get them with a passing play that could get them maybe a touchdown.
Second down, 8 to go for a first. Ball now inside of the Gravediggerz 15-yard line, spotted at the 14. Hines will move to the right of Glodden Jr. And he will look to pass. He's looking right. Flushed out, throws short, and incomplete. The pass intended for Tramel Williams.
Yeah, Williams was double covered on that one. Really would have been a tough catch for him if he were to have made that catch right there. Now sets up 3rd and about 8 coming up for the Mountaineers right here. And once again, you got to know it's 4-down territory for them after getting that earlier 4th down conversion. So they need to get to, it looks to be the 8-yard line if they want to continue this possession.
Based on what we've seen, the run very much on the table in this spot. They ran it on 3rd and 10 earlier, picked up 4, and then went for it on 4th down. Failed to convert. Once again, it's going to be a shotgun look. Hines in the backfield, flanking Glodden Jr. to his right. 4 receivers wide. And they will hand it off. Hines looking for some running room and doesn't find much as he picks up about a yard, maybe.
He lost a yard.
Lost one, yeah.
And there was a flag also thrown on the field.
So we'll see what this flag brings. Obviously, the Mountaineers hoping for a call against the defense. No signal yet from the officials.
That was against the defense.
The sticks have been changed to reflect 3rd down, and I think the Gravediggers were called for offsides. That's the only penalty I could see, affording them 5 yards.
Yeah. Ball now respotted at the 9. So it must have been a pre-snap penalty that happened. And now it's going to be 3rd and short. So this is a good opportunity for the Mountaineers to use that running game that they've been using early on. Try to get that first down on 3rd and short.
That's a big call. If they ran it on 3rd and 8, you have to think on 3rd and 3, there's a good chance they run it again. And they will. But I don't think they got it. In fact, they didn't get anything.
Yep.
As the ball carrier was stood up at the line of scrimmage. Once again, that was Chris Tyler on the run. And that will bring up a 4th down and 3.
This is a game-changing play potentially for these two teams. For the Mountaineers, if they can get the first down, they'll have first and goal. And if the Gravediggers are able to get the stop, that will go a long way to them potentially trying to take advantage and take a big early big-time lead over the Mountaineers. But a timeout was called by the Mountaineers, their final one of the half.
So the Mountaineers are now out of timeouts. And Nick, with how methodical they have been offensively so far in this first half, you have to think that if they don't score here, this game completely changes. They may not get more than one more possession in this first half with how they've marched very slowly up the field. You're almost at the point where you need this drive to end in points. And if you don't score, you certainly cannot afford to give up another score on the defensive side.
And considering that pretty much the Gravediggers offense is running through Johnson right now and his scrambling ability, that milks a lot more clock for the first half. So this very well could be, depending on how much time is left, it could be the last possession the Mountaineers have in this first half. So they need to capitalize here and get some points. As we mentioned already, they get the ball to start the second half. So if they're able to get some points here and if their defense can get a stop to end the first half, that gives them a great opportunity in the second half to potentially tie the game.
The Mountaineers will head back to the line ahead of a 4th down and 3. They trail by 16 and have put together a solid drive as we play on in the second quarter.
Curious to see what the Mountaineers try to run here on this 4th and short.
They initially had too many men on the field. Trips to the right, one receiver to the left. Hines in the backfield with Glaudin Jr. He will take the snap from the shotgun.
And, Joe, they got the encroachment. I believe that's going to be on the defense.
Both sides pointing at one another, so you never really know which way this call will go.
And they're going to discuss it.
Both sides appear confident that it is against the opponent.
Tyler, let's see if we can get a replay and see who maybe was the one that jumped.
Yeah, so let's slow that down.
They called it on the Mountaineers, though, so it is going to be a 5-yard false start.
We'll get a quick look at it here. From back here, I don't know about that, Nick.
Unless one of the Mountaineer offensive linemen flinched, I didn't really see the false start.
And, that's a good point, Nick, because a lot of the time, the first drastic move that you see is in response to a flinch.
Right.
The flinch on that wide shot could be missed, but looking at that angle, it looked like it should have been an offsides. It's really tough to tell if there was a flinch, though.
Well, now that changes your game plan because obviously you were trying to draw them offside to get the first down. Now it's back to 4th and 8, and they've already had a 4th and 9 conversion on this drive. Can they get something here on 4th and 8? Question's going to be, you would have to think they're going to throw the football in this spot.
Yeah.
You have to think, now the question's going to be, who are they going to be looking forward to trying to throw the football to get this first down, maybe even a touchdown, considering where we're at the spot of the field.
I don't think there's any doubt they're throwing it here. And they will. Throw over the middle and intercepted. And a big tackle made on the play by Williams. If he doesn't wrap up the defensive back, there's a chance that goes for 6 the other way.
And remember, that was the man that dropped the interception earlier and had to do some push-ups after dropping it. So he gets some redemption right there with the INT right there. And it will start the Gravediggers at their own 10-yard line. But a back-breaking 4 and out right there for the Mountaineers trying to get back into this game.
Well, the Mountaineers, with an opportunity to pull to within a score, instead turn it over on 4th down. And now, Nick, you get the sense they have to have a stop with possessions appearing as if they're going to be at a premium throughout this game. Both teams primarily have kept the ball on the ground. That keeps the clock moving. And in a game that's being played that way, you may not touch the football more than 3-4 times in a half. The Mountaineers have had just 2 possessions. The Gravediggers now getting the ball for the 3rd time. There's a very real chance we get to halftime in this game with each team having touched the ball just 3 times.
Let's see what Johnson has here on this next drive from the 10-yard line. They're already a 16-0 lead.
First down from the 10-yard line for the Gravediggers offense. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, and 2 big runs for Lamar Johnson thus far. Once again, 2 receivers stacked wide to the right as a man is sent in motion. That was Junior Butto. And he will take the handoff as he takes it behind left guard and out to the 19-yard line.
14-yard line?
That's right.
Don't worry, I've had that mistake sometimes too. It's always tough to see the field and then try to figure out exactly where you're at in terms of it. That's going to make it 2nd and 6.
2nd and 6 from the 14. You know, Nick, not being at the 50-yard line has thrown me off more than once. We call these games from about the 30. We are on the 30 of this side of the field where the offense is right now, so there's no excuse for messing that up. But from time to time, the skewed perspective just throws you off.
Could be worse. Could be left and right from a baseball perspective.
Could be worse. I could have said the floor. As Johnson will throw deep to a wide-open receiver, and he overshot him.
I didn't appreciate that comment.
Now, if that is number 8, as it appeared from here, that is fellow listed quarterback Malik Huffin, who had a lot of open real estate. He was about to come together with a safety on the play, but the ball was overthrown and falls incomplete to the turf.
And that was a big break for the Mountaineers, Joe, because that looked to be most likely a walk-in touchdown if the catch was made.
Once again, a stacked line of scrimmage on the offensive side for the Gravediggers. 2 receivers stacked wide to the right, and Johnson will take off on 3rd down. He has running room. He takes it up the far sideline, and a flag flies for a potential block in the back as Johnson is all alone, and he is gone for a touchdown. But, Nick, I'm fairly certain this one's coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be a block in the back for sure on the Gravediggers. But, man, Joe, if you give Johnson any room to run, he's going to make it. He's going to make something out. He's going to make nothing out of something, and that one looked to be. You saw on the possession in terms of pass rush for the Mountaineers. They kind of moved back and were trying to play in coverage wise, but that is what Johnson noticed, and he immediately took off as soon as the play happened. But unfortunately, his touchdown is negated due to the block in the back. So we'll have to see where they spot this ball now. I think they still get the first down. They do. They're going to mark it at the 25-yard line.
So a touchdown negated by the block in the back, but Nick, you saw it along that far sideline. I think that block was a very consequential block.
Yeah. I think, if you look at it, obviously you're trying to give Johnson the opportunity to run and give him that open space and field to get the touchdown, and it looked pretty good up until that very last moment. And despite that happening, though, the offensive line for the Gravediggers has done a tremendous job of giving Johnson the chance to scramble and use that open field to try to get touchdowns, and he's done it already twice so far in this game.
I said it before, Nick, win the battle up front, and you're in great shape, as it looks like we have a change at quarterback.
Johnson might need a breather after that one.
You wouldn't be able to blame him. This time they will hand off to Butto out of the backfield. He has some running room, dishes out a stiff arm, and is finally pushed out of bounds at about the 40-yard line.
He gave the new definition of power back on that one. Two nasty stiff arms on the sideline as he gets out of bounds at around the 38-yard line for the first.
Marcellus Smallwood, the one to finally chase him down for the Mountaineers. That brings up a first down. Ball officially spotted at the Gravediggers' 38-yard line. And Nick, the clock just continues to run.
Yeah, this is the problem that the Mountaineers have run into so far. They are going up against time right now with the way these possessions are going for the Gravediggers.
Another handoff to Butto, and he makes a nice move behind perfect blocking. He's into the second level, cuts it back, and is finally brought down inside the 25-yard line.
Yeah, him using that speed as well down that right sideline. And a great tackle from behind as well to save what would have been a touchdown for the Gravediggers right there. But you mentioned it, Joe. Good blocks up the middle. They're winning the game in the trenches right now. This offensive line being for the Gravediggers. And the Mountaineers had not been able to get a lot of pressure so far here in this first half.
Ball officially spotted at the 24-yard line of the Mountaineers. Perhaps the 23. And the Gravediggers once again putting together a masterclass in blocking right now. Running lanes everywhere. Brown motioned into the backfield. And they fake the handoff to him as the option is blown up this time. Jeffrey Ware again in on the tackle. We mentioned his name earlier.
Timeout called on the field. I think that's the 2-minute warning.
That would make sense, as this half has really flown by. Both teams keeping the ball on the ground primarily. And that has kept the clock moving. Once again, the wind picking up and the sky darkening just a bit.
It's getting later on tonight. It's 5:30.
For a moment, I thought they may have had an injury on the Gravediggers side, but instead I think there are just some players kneeling in the huddle.
You gotta tie your cleats sometimes. Just sometimes.
Both teams appear to have over 20 players. I think that's about where each side is in this game. So most players should not have to play both sides of the ball for very long. The last 3 or 4 snaps, Johnson has not been in the game following that big touchdown run that wasn't, following the block in the back.
Curious to see if he'll return on this possession. I haven't seen him on the sidelines either. I'm trying to scope out where he is.
So the team's returning to the field now ahead of what will be a second down and long, officially about 14, following the loss on the option play on first down. And if you're the Mountaineers here, you're unlikely to get a prolonged possession to conclude this half. You have to keep the Gravediggers out of the end zone in this spot.
Yeah, you can ill afford to be down 3 possessions going into halftime, even with you getting the football to start the second half. They really need to stop right here with 2 minutes to go.
Pre-snap motion man into the backfield. That was Harris. They will look to throw. Open man is Brown, and the ball sails over his head.
That's one they would love to have back, Joe. That was another walk-in touchdown for the Gravediggers that they were able to complete that pass. And you have to wonder, maybe the bobbled snap had anything to do with it, but tough break right there for the Gravediggers as they try to go up 3 possessions.
Well, they sold them on the play action, Nick. Brown wide open after Harris motioned into the backfield. And there was nobody within 20 yards of Brown in any direction. He's been heavily involved early in this game and was left all alone on that one, as Johnson will come back in on this third down and long. That may be the break that the Mountaineers needed.
Let's see if he takes off scrambling on this play.
Once again, Harris motioned into the backfield. Johnson will fake the handoff. Looking downfield, completes a short pass. And a flag flies from the secondary, as I didn't see the tackle completed on that play. It looks like they may have blown the play dead.
Was there maybe a free play? Did we miss a...
It was a penalty on the offense.
Okay.
Maybe a delay of game, because they just blew that play dead mid-play. And the flag came in rather late. So I'm not exactly sure what the call was. There was a flag, but right now they have not respotted the football. They may walk it back 5. We'll see. For now, we sit and wait as it looks like they're just going to replay the down. I didn't see anything in terms of the ball being respotted. There was no signal. They just blew that play dead, though they do change the down marker to 4th down. So there was a penalty. It was against the Gravediggers, and the Mountaineers have declined. 4th down. Big spot here for the Mountaineers defense, looking to give their offense one final chance before halftime. 2 receivers stacked wide to the right. And Johnson will take the handoff and take off. He bounces it outside. He has running room. He's headed for the sticks. He has the first down, and he has the touchdown as he put 2 Mountaineers on the turf with that juke move. A flag is down on the field, so we will see if this one stands.
And Joe, if you notice, we'll see if the touchdown does stand, but you were saying looked like he was going to try to go out of bounds towards the sideline, and that juke move fooled the defenders of the Mountaineers, and a great move inside to cut it and make it what may be a 22-0 game, but I think that penalty is on the Gravediggers, so it's going to be coming back. That's the second touchdown, especially on this drive, that has been called back now for the Gravediggers due to a penalty.
Well, as you said, Nick, the Gravediggers already had one score taken off the board via penalty. Keep in mind, that was a 4th down play. So they're going to have to replay 4th down here. It looks like it's going to be a 4th and about 10. So there was a penalty.
Blocking. Like there was another block in the back.
For a block in the back, a second time in this game.
It's really tough because you're trying to give your quarterback that room to run, but once he passes you, you're trying, you want to obviously get off your contain and get off your block, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and it leads to those block in the back. So now it's 4th and 10, back to the original line of scrimmage here for the Gravediggers, and we'll see if Johnson does again, takes that initial motion in and then scrambles to the outside like he did in that previous play.
Well, on that last play, they had 7 on the offensive line. Maybe 8, actually, on the offensive line. 2 receivers stacked wide right and the quarterback. This time Johnson looks to throw. He airs one out toward the end zone, and it's broken up. And Nick,
I think that
could have been a pick 6.
Yeah, especially considering that was the final play of the first half.
Yeah, that very well could have gone for 6 the other way. I believe that hit off the body of Nigel Glover, though it's very tough to make out the numbers from here. Either way, that'll bring us to the end of the first half. Our score at halftime, the Gravediggers 16, the Mountaineers nothing. When we come back, the second half of Game 2 in this, our Week 1 Elite Football Alliance doubleheader. And we're back from Facina Field where the officials did signal halftime. It looks like that has not been held up. I'm not sure exactly what happened. We saw a signal that led us to believe the first half was over, and instead, the Mountaineers offense has taken the field. So we are not quite at halftime yet. It did seem rather quickly after the 2-minute warning that we reached halftime, but there was certainly a signal that led me to believe the first half was over. The officials both waving their arms over their head in that cross wrist motion with the hands spreading out to the side, which often signals the end of a period, or in this case a quarter.
We'll have to see how many seconds potentially the Mountaineers have in this first half.
You'd have to think not too much. And they're going to run it as Williams takes the handoff and brings it up the middle. So the half continues, and, if you had asked me prior to that signal from the officials, I would have said we had maybe 40 seconds to a minute left in the half. So you have to think no more than 2 plays to bring us to halftime.
Yeah, I think for the Mountaineers, you don't want to, make an errant throw on this spot of the field because it could, with the short, field that they have right now, you don't want to give up a pick 6 to end the first half. At least keep it 2 possessions, and you get the football to start the second half.
The Mountaineers not showing much urgency in terms of getting in plays quickly, and they will hand off again on second down. And the Gravediggers are there. Most important thing here is to protect the football. I believe that was the first carry of this game with a player wearing number 28. We do have a 27. That is Joshua Hines. I could have sworn 28 had the carry on that last play. But when the jerseys get ruffled all the way down at the other end of the field, a bit tough to tell. We really need a spotter.
Yeah.
That's what we need to invest in, a designated spotter.
Although I will say, looks to be that they're going to have another opportunity to get one more playoff.
I'm shocked that they have time for 3 plays. There had to be at least a minute 30 left. It's been an awfully long huddle here. Not exactly sure.
And that's the F.
Okay. I was going to say, it looked like they were waiting out the end of the half. Are we sure this time before we go to break?
He definitely gave the motion that time around. I know they did it earlier, but if that isn't the way, especially them going off to the sideline, I would be very stunned if it's not already the half.
So that will bring us to halftime. Our score at the break remains the Gravediggers 16 and the Mountaineers nothing when we come back the second half of this Week 1 Elite Football Alliance matchup.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com. East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
We are back for the start of the second half from Facina Field as we had to relocate inside, and the second half kickoff is being returned by the Mountaineers. They will possess it first to start the third quarter. Now, with our new location, we don't have a great view of the end zone to the left of our press box. The rain is coming down very hard right now, so we had to move the equipment inside. We'll do our best to work around the window pane and the glass. The window is a sliding window. It only opens halfway. So once we have to turn the camera past probably about the 20, maybe the 15-yard line, we lose a good chunk of the end zone.
2 receivers to the right, 2 receivers to the left with a running back in the backfield. Man in motion here on 1st and 15. Low snap, bobbled. Now a toss gets bobbled. Here's the running back, Hines. He gets to the outside. And a vicious stiff arm right there from Hines. He was able to get a yard on the play too. So turning nothing into something right there with that play. There was an injury, but it looks to be that both sides are okay now. But you'll see on the replay, Hines with one of the more nastier stiff arms I've ever seen in my entire life. Good block well, and lowered the shoulder, put the stiff arm out there, and he at least gets a gain of 1 on the play to make it 2nd and 14 coming up for the Mountaineers. So a big break right there for New York, or for New Jersey, excuse me, as the Gravediggers, they try and now make a stop after giving up that 1-yard play. But after the false start, Joe, and then that play right there to make it 2nd and 14 for the Mountaineers, you get the sense that they need this drive more than ever if they want to get into this game and make it a one-possession game.
They need a score, Nick, and plays like that will certainly help their cause. As I think we've solved our camera issue. We were all good until we had to move the entire setup. It looks like one of our wires may have gotten wet. As soon as we swapped that wire out, we were all good again. Motion man is Williams, and they'll pitch it back to Hines. Hines lowers the shoulder, and he is stood up at the 40-yard line.
Looks like maybe he got another gain of 1 right there. That was met by the Gravediggers defense.
This is a big play in this game. Sticks read 4th down. It is 3rd down. And it is 3rd and very long. And the Mountaineers haven't been put in many situations yet where they've had to pass. They had 1 4th down where they needed to throw early in the game. They did not convert. They had a 2nd 4th down where they needed to throw a bit later in that first half. They did convert on that one. And then when they had 4th and a bit shorter from the red zone, they were unable to convert in that spot. So it's been a mixed bag on 4th down thus far. And at the very least, they'd like to make it a 4th and more manageable here on 3rd down. Spread shotgun set. And Glottis Jr. will look to throw as that is tipped and intercepted. Waiting for the official ruling. It is indeed an INT for Charles Patterson. And the Gravediggers have turned over the Mountaineers on 3rd down to open up the second half.
And a great start of the second half for the Gravediggers. We'll see right here on the replay that last INT ball was overthrown right there, tipped and in to the hands, and that's a great play by Patterson. You know, we say that a lot. They call it the tip drill, Joe, and Patterson was right there at the right moment to get that interception. And for the Gravediggers now, they'll be on the 44-yard line of the Mountaineers, looking to make this a 3-possession game.
And we've talked about it more than once already in this game. It seems like a 3-possession lead is going to be where the Gravediggers can really relax a bit and hopefully for them put this game away. The Mountaineers have had a couple of good possessions in this game. At the very least, that second possession they had in the first half.
I believe the Gravediggers have called the timeout.
We've seen this plenty as well. Timeouts early in drives and off a change of possession. You don't often see the need for a timeout. But with that, we'll step aside and take a quick 60-second break.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we are back from Facina Field ahead of this first down snap. Following the interception, the Gravediggers were forced to call timeout, but they take over in Mountaineers territory just inside of the Hudson Valley 45-yard line. The rain beginning to fall harder than it has at any point here this afternoon, now into the evening hours as we approach 6 p.m. Man in motion. Richard Gutierrez as Lamar Johnson keeps and is met by 3 Mountaineers at about the 40-yard line. Gain of 4 on first down.
And you see right there for the Mountaineers, you saw they were trying to rip the ball out of Johnson's hands. And that might have to be the strategy right now and trying to get the football back in terms of getting a stop defensively, trying to rip the ball out and force a turnover with you're already backed up at now your 40-yard line here on second down.
There's a big possession in this game. If the Gravediggers are able to score, especially given the conditions, you have to think that may put this game away. It's going to be very tough to throw the football as the rain gets harder.
Well, think about also, we saw how quick the first half went because of how the offenses are being played with a very more heavy-set-minded running game for both sides. That also plays a factor because that will not give the Mountaineers a lot of time remaining in this game down 3 possessions if they give up a touchdown.
Another way the rain can play into this is if a fumble just like that one gives the Mountaineers a possession. There's a stiff arm by Brown, and he's taken down along the Hudson Valley sideline. And I was about to say, Nick, just as quickly as a score could potentially put this game away, a fumble can change this game completely in the other direction.
Yeah, I think that, and I mentioned it in the first down play, getting a turnover would go a long way for the Legion because you're trying to save some time on the clock right now because both sides are running the football, and that's milking a lot of clock as it is. So if they're able to force a quick turnover, they get the ball right back and can make it a one-possession game again. But they need to stop on this possession regardless of what happens. So third down and about 8 coming off right here for the Gravediggers.
I'd be curious to know if the Gravediggers consider this 4-down territory.
I would tend to think so.
In a 2-possession game, if you don't gain anything, as we've lost our camera feed again. It is a carry by Johnson as the camera feed is restored. It looks like a signal issue. I'm not sure. It's a cabling issue, and Johnson somehow was not tackled. I thought they got him along the sideline.
You know, it's not an issue.
But he is celebrating a touchdown.
That's not been an issue this game for the Gravediggers. Him scoring once again, and that's just good sideline awareness right here from Johnson. I mean, I thought for sure he was going to get pushed out of bounds maybe, or at least tackled on that sideline. Not the case right there for him. He just walks in for his 3rd touchdown of the game, and now a 22-0 lead for the Gravediggers here.
So it looks like we're having a signal issue due to the weather, so we're going to try and address that following this 2-point conversion attempt. We're going to go directly wired from our video transmitter into our system. We were operating with a wireless device prior to that touchdown run. The weather wreaking havoc. We did not expect rain until later in the evening. Had we known the rain would arrive mid-game, we would have set up inside from the start. It is now 22-0 in favor of the Gravediggers. They will go for 2. Lamar Johnson with 3 rushing touchdowns.
Expect them to run here, Joe, potentially.
I think all of them are of 25 yards or more. He fakes the handoff, takes it up the middle, and is in for 2. So what we're going to do very quickly is step aside, take a 60-second break, and hopefully when we come back, our audio transmission issues are fixed.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
All right, so we're still currently attending to our camera issues here at Vicina, but it's now a 24-0 lead for the Gravediggers. They're about to kick it away here. Have to think we're definitely past the halfway point here in the third quarter as well. That's number 11 returning the kick here for the Mountaineers. He gets to the 34, 35. And it'll be brought down at around the 37-yard line. So that's where the Mountaineers will pick up their next ensuing possession. So a rough go of things for the Mountaineers offensively in this game. Very run-heavy offense they've had in this one. And they just not have been able to get much rushing yards that they would have hoped for in this one. As that Gravediggerz defense has done an impeccable job of stopping that run game. The ball will be officially placed down at the 38-yard line here on 1st and 10. If the Mountaineers want to have a chance in this game, they're going to need a very quick score. And it's going to be tough defensively because of the way the Gravediggers have been able to run the football, especially from Johnson. So go back to our white screen. Quarterback drops back, throws a pass. The ball is almost intercepted. It went right through the hands of Hines. And it was almost picked off by the safety right there. Want to give it another turnover right there for the Gravediggers defense. So incompletion now forces 2nd and 10. Well, still at the 38-yard line here. Once again, dropping back. Pass is thrown, and it's over the head of the intended receiver right there. That might have been Marcellus Smallwood. That was the intended receiver down the right sideline. So that one was overthrown by Glaudin Jr. So we've seen a very run-heavy offense for the Mountaineers in this game, but with it seeming to be over the halfway point of the third quarter and you're down 24-0, they're trying to save some clock right here and trying to throw the football. But back-to-back incompletions have now forced this to be 3rd and 10. And you get the sense this is most likely going to be 4-down territory. They've gone for it on 4th down already a couple times, backed into their own territory. You get the sense down 24-0, they're going to probably do the same. And throwing back-to-back incompletions, you would also get the sense that they're probably going to throw the ball here on 3rd and 10. 2 receivers to the left of Glaudin as well as 1 to the right, with the running back Hines in the backfield. He'll get the handoff on the draw. He avoids 2 tackles, still going to the outside. And I think he has just enough for a 1st down. And he does. He needed to get to around the 47-yard line, and he just barely got that 1st down marker for the Mountaineers. So Hines on the halfback draw on 3rd and 10 does get a Mountaineer 1st down to extend this drive, as they are now close to midfield at their own 47-yard line. Mountaineers fooling the Gravediggerz defense right there with that draw. Able to get the first down run. We'll see if they go back to the run here on 1st and 10. Still trying to be conservative with the clock as well. 1st and 10 from the 47. 2 to the left, 2 to the right once again for Glaudon. In the shotgun. Blitz is being shown. He has to throw it quickly down the left side. And is that intercepted? I think it is. That one is picked off by the Gravediggerz defense. Not sure who got the interception for the Gravediggerz defense, but it was initially tipped and then was brought down on the heavily contested ball down the left sideline. And once again, the Jersey Gravediggerz defense gets another turnover forced here in the second half, and then once again be on plus side of the territory, starting this drive from around the 49-yard line, 1st and 10, as we're seeing a tremendous defensive effort right now from the Gravediggerz here today, as the Mountaineers trying to get that passing game involved here in the third quarter. But just a very good, heavily contested ball right there, forcing the turnover. So I'll bring out the Gravedigger offense now. I think they have subbed Lamar Johnson out of the game at quarterback. That does look to be the case. We did see him sub out earlier in the game after one of his touchdowns were negated. So, Joe, welcome back to the broadcast. It looks like we have fixed our camera issues, but now another big turnover forced by that Gravedigger defense, and they're right back on offense.
Well, we had to go to the backup camera, Nick. It seems like our camera may have gotten a bit too wet outside. You may have seen prior to halftime, we tried to cover it to keep it shielded from the elements. Unfortunately, we didn't cover it soon enough, and once we relocated inside, it was no longer functional. We couldn't maintain a video feed, and now maintaining their lead and growing it are the Gravediggerz. Huge run on that play for Junior Butto, and he takes it for what will officially go down as a 49-yard touchdown.
Well, the defense leads to the offense right there for the Gravediggerz. They get the turnover, one play later, one play on the possession, and it's a long touchdown run for Butto to now make it a 30-0 lead for the Gravediggerz here today. And I mentioned, Joe, setting the tone for your start to the season and making it a lasting impact for how this 2024 season could certainly go out to be. The Gravediggerz have definitely done that so far in this game, and we're still only here in the third quarter.
And we've seen two teams today now make a statement in their opening game of the season. The Dolphins with a shutout win by a score of 32-0. With this two-point conversion, the Gravediggerz have a chance to go ahead 32-0. You mentioned, Nick, the Gravediggerz making a quarterback change. Lamar Johnson will officially finish the day with 3 touchdowns if he doesn't come back in.
I would think with the lead that you have, he most likely would not come back in to avoid any potential injury.
I think you're right. On the rollout, that pass is sent high to the corner of the end zone. So no good on the 2-point try. The score remains 30-0 in favor of the Gravediggerz. And you have to think we're probably approaching the end of the third quarter. How about that?
We'll take a quick break, Joe, before we go to the fourth quarter.
Attention, local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we are back from Joseph F. Facina Field, where the rain continues to fall as we begin the fourth quarter. Quarter number 3 ended with a Gravediggerz touchdown to put them ahead by 30. The 2-point try failed as the window did interfere with our shot of the back right corner of the end zone. We've already lost one camera due to precipitation in this game. We're on the backup system now. Gravediggerz will kick off. There you see Mountaineers lined up waiting to receive it. Brown sends it toward the far side. It's brought in. And 3 Gravediggerz surround the return man. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, no number 11 on our roster.
Looks like he's down the 31-yard line.
Well, Nick, the Mountaineers in this game had one good possession late in that first half that really made you think if they could score, we have ourselves a ball game. And when they failed on that 4th down and the first half ended with a 2-score deficit, it didn't feel like all hope was lost in this game. They showed you enough to think, okay, maybe they can come out in the second half, put a touchdown on the board, and make this a game. Unfortunately for them, it seems like things have turned in the complete opposite direction with the Gravediggerz coming out in the second half even better than they played in the first half.
I think another thing to also note is, remember the near pick 6 that we had to end the first half as well, and that really came back to bite the Mountaineers because that could lead it to being a one-possession game going into halftime. Then you start the second half with the football. Who knows what happens when you're down 1 possession compared to being down 2 possessions. But as you mentioned, it just seems as if the Mountaineers have been trying to get their passing game involved because being down this much, you can't really run the ball because you're trying to save as much time and be conservative, but it just unfortunately hasn't been able to work out for them. They missed a couple throws. That last drive ended in an interception. The Gravediggerz defense has just done a great job today overall on both sides.
And it's tough to say, this interception would have gone for a touchdown. This one wouldn't have. But given the way the offense was working deep in the red zone and that there weren't very many offensive players between the end zone, as that pass was nearly intercepted as well. But I think there was a very good chance that if the Mountaineers intercepted that ball to end the half, they take it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Very good chance.
If you look down the right sideline of that near pick, there was a lot of green. There was not a lot of offensive players, as you mentioned, towards that side of the field. And there certainly would have been a case for a pick 6 happening on that play. Not sure if it would have happened, but you definitely could have made the case that could have went back for 6 and at least make it a 10-point game before halftime.
And I think something else to be noted from the end of that first half, the Mountaineers didn't really make a push to score. They were content with where they were down 2 possessions. And obviously, in those situations, you would like to have the ability to push down the field for points. But with the run-heavy offense that we've seen from them, they elected to take it into halftime.
And remember also, they only had 1 timeout on that last possession, so not much really you can do also with having just a lone timeout.
That's certainly a factor as well, as that's completed on the out route, and immediately a big tackle is made by Charles Patterson. That will draw a flag.
The flag was for the football being thrown to the ground, so that's going to be unsportsmanlike.
Yep. Can't spike the football.
You just see the frustrations, unfortunately, being shown out today by the Mountaineers in this one.
Well, as I said, they showed enough in the first half to make you believe that they could, at the very least, keep this game within striking distance through the first 3 quarters. But instead, the Gravediggerz came out in the second half and put together a couple of scores very quickly. And that obviously changed the game. It's going to be second down here, and you'd presume very long. Though they haven't moved the sticks yet, is it possible they declined the penalty?
Maybe, it looks like.
It's certainly possible. If so, that's a good show of sportsmanship.
We saw a decline of penalty for sportsmanship in the first game as well.
And that was on a delay of game.
Yep.
The Legion.
They were trying to get Kind into the game, but he had a equipment malfunction. Now they're moving the sticks back, so never mind. Take the sportsmanship out the window.
I'm not sure if you have the option to decline a personal foul. I guess you would. Obviously, you'd want to on a 4th down where they didn't convert.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can in that spot.
Like in that case, would they add a personal foul to where you took over? Is that applicable? I guess it depends on when the personal foul occurred. If it occurred during the play, they wouldn't. If it occurred after the play, they would add it to where you were on the field. I think that's the right way to assess it.
That was certainly after the play was over.
So we await the 2nd down snap. There's
a conversation between one of the officials and the Mountaineer offense.
It looked like every player on the field was signaling for a flag to be thrown. At least that's what I gathered from that exchange. Surprised we can see so well down this end of the field through the window.
The rain has started to simmer down a little bit, at least. As long as there's much rain at all.
The rain already took one camera with it.
Yeah.
We're not
That's true.
laying another camera at the altar of the rain. 2nd and 25. Spread shotgun set. Throw goes short right, and it is high and incomplete. We had some acrobatics, some gymnastics in the secondary there from one of the Mountaineers players. Brief handstand.
Well, the Olympics did just end, so trying to show off some acrobatics, as you mentioned.
Third and 25. You would think if the running clock is on the table, it would certainly be running now, especially with this ball deep in Mountaineers territory. And obviously, Nick, when you look back at this game, you're going to see the big runs by Lamar Johnson, and that's really going to stand out. But not to be lost in this game is the performance of the Gravediggerz defense, something you highlighted earlier.
Yeah, and how about Butto as well, getting those long runs. He's had a couple long rushing touchdowns in this game. There's been a lot of good highlights for the Gravediggerz in this one, and that's something that they can look forward to highlighting next week, having the chance to, go into their bye week and, mull over what they did right in this game. Not much they did wrong, honestly, for them, and having to scout their opponent for week 3.
Third and 25. It's a throw, and it's incomplete.
Looking for Hines on that one.
Even when they've had the short passes that have been open, the pressure and the collapsing pocket have not allowed them to complete those pitch and catch type of passes. I think it's fairly easy to say that their best play in the passing game today was that 4th down conversion in the first half. They made that one look easy. The receiver ended up getting wide open. Ball was on target, on time, and quarterback able to throw it out of a clean pocket. Saw that play executed very well. But on most plays, Stephen Glauden Jr. has tried to get the ball out quickly, and he's been throwing to some tight coverage. This Gravediggerz defense has been where they need to be. And I think we're going to see a punt here from the Mountaineers. Though this does not look like a punt formation. I saw them pull their quarterback off the field and thought punt incoming, but instead it looks like Hudson Valley is going to go for it on 4th down. They need 25. And they have time. It's a throw deep down the field, and nearly going for a big play was that pass attempt that fell at the feet of the intended receiver, but credit to Nigel Glover on that play. He showed off the arm there and was probably about a foot short of completing a huge pass.
Yeah, that was almost a disaster right there for the Gravediggerz defense, as he almost got that one through the couple of defenders that were in that vicinity of the play. But they forced a turnover on downs, and now they'll have prime field position here in the 4th quarter, as you see right there, just missing would have been an insane 4th and 25 conversion.
I think if that ball is a foot higher, they have the completion and perhaps a lot more than that. I think something that we've seen many times covering the EFA and covering semi-pro football even arena football, is that you need to give your receiver a chance. Get the ball out, even if it's a one-on-one jump ball. Give the receiver a chance because those guys can make plays for you. And I think it's easier said than done when a game is very close and an interception can change a game and perhaps put you on the short end of a tie score if obviously that interception went the other way for points. But I think more often than not, the receivers do win those jump balls. And if it's one-on-one and you have that chance to get the ball up into coverage, I think more often than not you take it.
Yeah, and I think it looks like maybe I thought initially there was pre-movement on the snap, but it's another rushing touchdown for the Gravediggerz, Joe.
That's just poor tackling by the Mountaineers as they lateral the ball on the goal line for yet another score. And the Gravediggerz continue their impressive showing here in Week 1. A flag flies for a personal foul at the end of the play. And, Nick, I think there's a good chance the game ends following this conversion try, if not right now.
Yeah. We'll have to see if they call it after this next upcoming play. But you mentioned it, just not great tackling the play right there for the Mountaineers, and the Gravediggerz just continue to run the ball efficiently in this game. I've got to wonder how many rushing yards as a team they have in this one overall.
And we've seen over the years some teams that run the football really well. I think most recently last year's New York Bears team comes to mind. We saw them run it a bit more 2 years ago, but they were still a good team on the ground last year. But I don't think we've ever seen a team come out and run the ball for 4 quarters consistently as well as this team here in the Gravediggerz has today. You know, Demon Knights, another team that comes to mind in that regard as well. They've had the league's leading rusher on more than one occasion. But oftentimes, if they're trailing late in the game, they have to come out of that run-heavy offense. And we've seen when they're pushed to the limit, they need to pass sometimes. At no point in this game have the Gravediggerz needed to pass, as that pass on the conversion is complete.
Right on cue.
But at no point in this game have the Gravediggerz really been forced to pass. There haven't been many third and longs. And when they have had third and long, they've run the football.
They still ran the football, yeah. There have been some plays where third and long, Lamar Johnson will, take that initial step in, fake that he's going to throw the football, and then just to take the immediate run towards the right or left sideline. And they just haven't been able to tackle him in the open field. And you mentioned it. I mean, I'm not sure if how many passes the Gravediggerz have thrown in this game. It hasn't been many, but them being able to run the football like this is going to be something that the rest of the EFA is going to have to contend with as the season goes on and trying to stop this rushing attack.
And I think in terms of an efficient ground game and commitment to the ground game, the Demon Knights are really the benchmark in that regard here in the EFA. And watching the Demon Knights take on the Gravediggerz in a potential matchup later in the season, I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Which team can get the better of the ground game? We expect next weekend to get our first look at Empire State.
And the Dolphins could be also in that scenario as well. They ran the football pretty well in that first game against the Legion. And they were able to, add on some big passing plays as the game went along. But that read option offense they were able to run was really efficient, and it fooled the Legion throughout that entire game.
And we've seen that here in this game as well. A lot of read option from the Gravediggerz. Lamar Johnson, obviously, a huge part of that. But this is probably as dynamic a running performance as we've seen in a single game covering the EFA. We've seen prolonged success over the course of a season from the Demon Knights, and they've run it extremely well in the games we've covered for them. But I don't think I've ever seen them have a game like this where the quarterback has rushed for 3 touchdowns, the running back has a pair of touchdowns, and just about everybody who's gotten their hands on the football has made plays on the ground.
Yeah, and you can't ask much more out of your team if you're able to make those plays. And that's another credit to the offensive line. I think that's another, inspiring factor of what the Gravediggerz have been able to do well. They've been winning the game, as I mentioned, in the trenches in this one. And that offensive line has been giving not only the running game an ability to do what they've been doing, but it's also giving, anytime they've been able to throw a football, the opportunity to make a good throw.
Kickoff on its way. Fielded just inside of midfield. Tripped up at around the 35-yard line was Chris Tyler.
Time was called on the field.
I thought for a moment that might be it, Nick, but
Nope.
not yet. Tyler's still down. So we're about 30 minutes away from the start of Game 3 in our Saturday triple header here on the PDF Sports Network. So why don't we throw up our upcoming schedule, Tyler? Clear the scoreboard for a moment and take a look at what we have coming up here on PDF. So this is Game 2 of our doubleheader here at Facina Field. In 30 minutes, the Jersey Sharks make their PDF Sports Network debut against a team that our audience is very familiar with in the New York Bears. Those teams now competing in the LAL. Next weekend, at a time to be announced, we have the Dolphins taking on the Demon Knights, and then on August 29th, high school football on PDF for the first time as Old Bridge takes on Woodbridge. Looking ahead to the spring, we're going to have a client right in your backyard, Nick. We'll be covering the Staten Island Hurricanes.
Okay, yeah.
They host their home games at St. Peter's High School.
We got a little bit of a glimpse, a couple, it feels like a couple of weeks ago, but I think it was, a month or two ago that we called that game?
I think it was early May.
Okay.
Once again, the Mountaineers go deep, and that ball is swatted away. But as I said, Nick, get the ball out, give your receiver a chance, and I think if the safety doesn't come over and swat that, there's another chance for a big play there.
And I mentioned it earlier also. I think you're at the point in this game where you're trying to figure out what passing plays will work for you for the rest of the season. And you're getting a lot of good opportunities as this game goes along. The Gravediggerz defense has done a good job of, forcing those incompletions. But the Bears need to at least find out what passing plays can work for them. Because with that run-heavy offense that they have, the Mountaineers obviously want to figure out what plays will work for them as the season goes along if they need to throw the football on any third and long situation.
2nd down and 10. Gravediggerz sent 4, and that ball just a bit wide of the intended target. I believe that was number 29, who is not on our roster. Always have to do a double check, make sure they aren't on the roster. Once again, Nigel Glover is at quarterback for the Mountaineers. Showed off a big arm on that 4th down play. But it's really hard to show what you can do when every throw is made under immense pressure.
And I think also you're getting a look at him at quarterback because who knows if they make a quarterback change for the rest of the season, if they go with Glover the rest of the way. Or if they just have him in this spot so that they can avoid Glaudin getting injured for, hopefully, trying to avoid having him get injured and him missing out most of the season as well.
Both of these teams have a week off next week. We spoke about it during the pregame. If you're the Gravediggers, perhaps you'd like to jump right back in. As Glover throws deep, that's well underthrown and nearly caught off of the tipped pass. Initially, I thought for sure that was going to go down as an interception, but instead, the ball was tipped in the air almost straight into the chest of the intended receiver.
Almost another tip drill play, but this time it would have worked out for the offense. That makes it 4th and long coming up.
Fourth down and 10. 3 straight incompletions to open up this drive. Glover once again in the shotgun. 2 receivers left, 2 receivers right. And I think we have a timeout called. And we do. The Gravediggers call for time. So we'll step aside for a 60-second break. 4th down coming up when we come back.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements. And they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
So we are back from Facina Field, where following a timeout by the Gravediggers, the Mountaineers have called a timeout. That leaves the Mountaineers with 2 and the Gravediggers with 1 as we play on late in this fourth quarter.
So rain kind of coming back a little bit. It's a little drizzling outside, but as you mentioned, both teams calling a timeout. Now we have fourth down still coming up for the Mountaineers here to try to extend this drive.
4th and 10. As I mentioned before, 3 straight incompletions on first, second, and third down. 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. And we'll see which way this penalty goes.
I think it's going to be on the...
It is on the Gravediggers, though that was signal.
The Mountaineers were unhappy, so
yeah.
I think it's against them.
The initial signal was certainly against the Gravediggers.
I think the back judge towards the Gravediggers defense was the one that, they call off false start.
Yep.
So 4th and 10 now becomes 4th and 15.
Pre-snap penalties, never something that you want to see on a consistent basis. And obviously late in the game, things can get sloppy. The weather is poor. It's a lopsided score at the moment. But you'd still like to play a clean game the rest of the way if you can. And now Glover will heave it. Jump ball. Broken up.
I think they just said that's the game.
And I think you're right, Nick. But this time we'll hang around just to be sure. If this is officially final, our final score, the Gravediggers 38 and the Mountaineers nothing. And Nick, the 2 winners today combined to outscore the 2 losers by a combined score of 70-0.
Yeah, you want to make an impact to start your EFA competition? That's certainly a way to do it. 38 points right here for the Gravediggers, 32 for the Dolphins in game number 1, and they also both pitched shutouts defensively. Both defenses did a great job in their respective games, and they now get a good jump start to their season, going to 1-0 now on the year. The 2 teams that played in this game will have a bye week next week, so they'll have a week off to try to figure out what went right, what went wrong. But as I mentioned before, Joe, for the Gravediggers side, not a lot of things went wrong for them in this game. Couldn't have had pretty much a near 100% performance from them in this one to get their 1-0 start to the year.
I can't think of much they could have done better, Nick, with the exception of missing a pair of wide open throws. They had 2 opportunities to score a touchdown with receivers running open in the secondary, and I think that's a product of how well they ran the ball. The receivers running uncovered deep in the secondary, and both of those throws that could have been touchdowns were missed. Outside of that, they played a nearly perfect game in this one, and the scoreboard certainly indicates that. Once again, our final score, 38-0. So what we'll do is take one more look at our upcoming schedule here on PDF. As we mentioned before, we do have another game on the schedule tonight. Coming up in approximately 23 minutes, the Jersey Sharks make their PDF Sports Network debut against the New York Bears. Next weekend, our scheduled game will see the New York Dolphins host the Empire State Demon Knights. And then on August 29th, high school football debuts on the PDF Sports Network as Old Bridge High School takes on Woodbridge High School. But if you don't tune in to our second stream tonight, we'll be sure to see you back covering the EFA next weekend. Until then, this has been Joe Foreman, my broadcast partner this afternoon into the evening, Nicholas Pavona, our engineer, Tyler Clark, and our camera operator, Pat Gilorenzo. From all of us here at PDF, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Tune into the Sharks, and don't miss the Dolphins take on the Demon Knights next weekend.